The arrival at Earth? The alien vessel limped through the void with engines groaning under the weight of damage from a recent skirmish with raiders on the far edges of the Orion corridor. Scorch marks streaked across its hull, and the once proud cruiser now looked like a wounded beast dragging itself back to safety. Captain Valar sat in the command chair with a heavy silence pressing on his crew. They had lost half their power relays, their shield grid was shattered, and life support was barely functioning. By all measures, they should have drifted to their deaths among the stars, but a single transmission had changed their course. A nearby human system had responded to their call for assistance, offering a dockyard orbiting Earth. To Valar and his officers, this was a desperate gamble, for records of humanity in the galactic archives painted them as a young race, resourceful but crude, innovative but far from the standards of the Council's core worlds. Yet with no other option, they had set their course for Earth. As the blue and white planet filled their viewport, the crew expected to feel superiority, perhaps even a sense of pity for the primitive world. But instead they felt an odd tension. The humans had guided them into orbit with precision and ease, dispatching small craft to meet them. Instead of grim soldiers or suspicious customs officers, the first beings to board their crippled ship were engineers dressed in worn but practical suits, their eyes sharp and movements confident. They carried strange tools slung across their backs and spoke in a language translated smoothly by the ship's system. One of them grinned, a gesture that startled the alien crew with its flash of teeth, and offered a steaming cup of something, called coffee. The smell was sharp and rich, and even though the alien physiology could not drink it, the gesture carried weight. These humans treated them not as burdens or outsiders, but as guests, and the captain found himself unsettled by this. The repair crews moved fast, spreading through the corridors of the ship with an energy the aliens had never seen in their own dockyards. They tapped the walls, scanned junctions, and argued among themselves in clipped phrases before sketching out solutions that bypassed whole sections of broken systems. Valar listened as one human explained that the problem with their shield grid was not the damage itself, but a flaw in the redundancy. The alien engineers stiffened at the suggestion, for that design had been approved by the Council itself centuries ago. Yet the human showed them how a simple reroute with cheaper components would triple the efficiency, and then asked casually why no one had thought of it before. It was said not with arrogance, but with a kind of innocent surprise, as though such problem-solving were simply natural to them. The longer the humans worked, the more the alien crew felt a strange mixture of awe and unease. These beings seemed fearless of danger. A man crawled into a vent filled with sparks, emerging with soot on his face and laughing. A woman balanced on a beam above a yawning breach in the hull, sealing cracks with a device that sprayed glowing liquid metal. Their casual toughness was alarming to those who came from safer worlds. For humans, risk was just another part of the task. During breaks, they would gather in groups and share the bitter drink called coffee, inviting the aliens to sit with them even if they could not consume it. It was more than a drink. It was ritual, a sign that work and companionship were bound together. Captain Valar stood by a viewport watching Earth's surface rotate beneath him, while humans scurried like ants through his ship. He could not deny that progress was happening faster than he imagined possible. They had asked for repairs, and already the human leader of the team was speaking of upgrades, improvements that would make the cruiser not only functional, but stronger than before. Valar wondered if it was arrogance or generosity, or perhaps both. Still, he could not shake the feeling that there was more to these humans than the records admitted. They smiled and joked. They gave away their time and effort freely, and yet behind their easy manner was a precision that spoke of hidden power. The alien crew whispered among themselves. Were these humans simply kind, or were they laying traps of obligation and debt? One young officer asked why they offered so much without demand. Another muttered that maybe humans knew the galaxy underestimated them, and they enjoyed showing how wrong that image was. Valar listened to his people but kept his thoughts to himself. He had commanded fleets, seen worlds burn, and dealt with dozens of species, yet he had never encountered one so unpredictable. The first day in Earth orbit was not just a step toward recovery. It was the opening of a mystery, and Valar suspected that whatever answers awaited them, they would not leave unchanged first impressions. The second day aboard the alien cruiser was unlike anything the crew had ever known. The humans had taken over entire sections of the vessel, moving with a confidence that unsettled even the most seasoned officers. Their engineers did not hesitate to dismantle core systems, pulling out components that had been considered sacred designs for generations. They laid the pieces on the deck, examined them, and shook their heads as if they were looking at crude toys. One young human, grease smeared across his forehead, explained that the plasma conduits were running at half their potential because of restrictive housing built centuries ago. With nothing more than a welder and a few strips of alloy scavenged from their own supply crates, he modified the casing and proved his point by boosting the energy output to levels the aliens had never reached. The crew stood in silence, their pride in council-certified technology crumbling in the face of human improvisation. The aliens had always believed they were advanced, members of the great galactic order that had guided countless civilizations. Yet here on this strange world orbiting a single yellow star, humans behaved as if the galaxy's rules did not bind them. They were not bound by protocol or tradition. They asked questions no alien would dare ask. Why build a shield that drains energy when it could be balanced to redirect excess back into the reactor? Why waste coolant on a system that could be insulated with cheaper materials? Why leave a broken bulkhead untouched when it could be reinforced with structural foam and make the ship stronger than before? Each question carried weight, and with every solution offered, the alien engineers felt smaller. During one inspection, Captain Valar walked alongside a tall human named Marcus, who seemed to be the leader of the repair team. Marcus spoke with easy confidence, his words simple but his meaning sharp. He pointed to the ship's engines and explained how the thrust ratio could be improved with an adjustment so minor it felt like magic. Valar frowned, asking why humans would share such knowledge freely. Marcus only laughed, clapped the captain on the shoulder, and said that a guest should always leave better than when they arrived. The captain was left speechless, for no other species had ever offered such generosity without expecting something in return. Meanwhile, the alien crew found themselves drawn into the strange customs of their hosts. Each repair session was broken by what humans called coffee breaks. At first, the aliens did not understand, for the dark liquid was toxic to them. But the humans explained that coffee was not simply fuel, it was tradition. They gathered, sipped, exchanged stories, and laughed. Soon the aliens joined, not by drinking, but by sharing their own stories and listening to the wild tales of human adventures. One engineer spoke of climbing frozen mountains for sport, another of sailing across storms on fragile wooden boats. To the aliens, who had lived in controlled and safe environments their whole lives, these tales sounded like madness. Yet the ideal humans spoke of them with joy, as if danger itself was a companion they welcomed. As hours turned to days, the alien officers began to notice something else. The humans never seemed tired. They worked long shifts, lifting heavy panels, crawling through tight shafts, braving sparks and fire without complaint. When one was injured by a sharp shard of metal, he laughed it off, wrapped the wound with tape, and returned to work. The aliens whispered in disbelief, wondering what kind of biology allowed such resilience. It was no wonder that records often referred to humans as deathworlders, for only a species forged in constant struggle could carry such endurance. Yet what unsettled them most was not the toughness itself, but the way it was wrapped in kindness. Humans risked themselves to help others, smiled through pain, and treated strangers as comrades. Captain Valar observed these moments closely. His crew had arrived expecting condescension, but instead they were given respect, friendship, and a strange kind of mentorship. The repairs were going well, but something deeper was happening. His officers, once wary and aloof, now spoke with the humans as equals. Some even began copying their mannerisms, nodding with that same easy smile, or tapping tools against their palms the way humans did when they thought. The captain realized with unease that his crew was changing. It was not only their ship that was being upgraded, but their very way of thinking, and yet he could not deny that he too felt a quiet admiration for the humans who treated every problem as a puzzle to be solved, rather than a burden to endure. By the end of the second cycle in Earth orbit, the cruiser looked less like a broken relic and more like a vessel reborn. Systems flickered to life with new efficiency, bulkheads shone with reinforced plating, and energy readings climbed beyond previous limits. The aliens could hardly believe the transformation. They had come for repairs, but the humans were delivering something greater, and Captain Valar knew this was only the beginning. Humanity was not only fixing their ship, they were revealing themselves, one quiet upgrade at a time, and he wondered with a mix of dread and fascination what they might reveal next. The upgrades begin. The third cycle aboard the cruiser marked a turning point, for by now the alien crew no longer saw the humans as mere mechanics but as something closer to miracle workers. Every corner of the ship bore signs of their touch. Worn conduits were replaced with sleeker human designs that pulsed with steady light. Corridors once dark and damaged now gleamed with reinforced plating, and the engines hummed with a rhythm that sounded more alive than mechanical. Captain Valar could not ignore that his ship was becoming something new, a hybrid of alien and human design, and though he felt a growing unease, he also felt reluctant to stop it. His people had been raised to believe that council engineering was the peak of wisdom, but these humans, without arrogance, were quietly proving otherwise. It was not only the technical changes that unsettled the aliens, but the way humans carried themselves as they worked. They moved with energy that seemed endless, always talking, always sharing ideas, always challenging each other to find better ways. When one found a solution, the others would cheer and laugh as though the victory belonged to all. Even the simplest task became a game of creativity. To the aliens, whose work culture was rigid and hierarchical, this chaotic flow seemed at first inefficient. But then they saw the results. Systems that had been down for weeks were brought back to life within hours. Whole power relays that required council-grade factories to manufacture were replaced with simpler yet more effective designs, built in Earth's orbital dockyards. Valar's chief engineer stood in silence as he watched a group of humans weld together a new reactor shield, unable to believe how quickly and effectively they worked with so little. Perhaps the most unusual moment came when the humans insisted that the alien crew join them fully during their coffee breaks. At first the aliens resisted, claiming it was not their custom, but the humans ignored excuses. They brought extra seats, set them in a circle, and beckoned the aliens with wide smiles. The aliens joined reluctantly, feeling awkward as the humans passed steaming cups among themselves. The scent of roasted beans filled the air, strange and earthy, and though the aliens could not drink it, they soon found themselves absorbed in the ritual. Humans told stories as they drank, not of victories or political triumphs, but of simple life. A woman spoke of watching the sunrise over mountains. Another man recounted the joy of building a boat with his father. A young engineer described the thrill of running through rainstorms on Earth. These tales had no place in council assemblies, yet they carried a warmth that touched the alien crew. Without realizing it, they began sharing their own memories of homeworlds with silver seas or great crystalline forests, and the humans listened with genuine interest, nodding and smiling as though every detail mattered. In these circles, something changed. Suspicion softened into trust, and trust began to shift into something deeper, a bond that went beyond duty. As days passed, the upgrades grew bolder. Humans began suggesting improvements that bordered on military alterations. The engines, once functional, were now enhanced with human-designed regulators that could push them to speeds beyond official limits. Shield emitters were rewired to channel energy more efficiently, a trick that left the alien officers uneasy, because it made their defenses twice as strong as before. When asked why they would share such dangerous modifications, the humans shrugged and said that no ship should limp away from danger if it could roar back into battle. The words struck Valar deeply. The humans spoke of survival not as avoidance, but as defiance. To them, survival meant standing stronger, coming back fiercer, and ensuring that no threat was faced unprepared. By the end of the third cycle, Captain Valar walked through his ship and barely recognized it. He watched his crew laughing with humans. In the mess hall, their stiff posture softened, their eyes wide with curiosity. He watched human engineers crawling through panels side by side with alien officers, teaching them how to use new systems as if they were partners, not clients. And when he returned to the command deck, he found his ship humming with an energy that felt new, as though the very walls were proud to carry the changes. He stood by the viewport staring at Earth and admitted to himself what he had been avoiding. They had come for repairs, yet what humanity was offering was not repair at all. It was rebirth still. Unease coiled in his chest. Why give so much? Why share so freely? Why hand over knowledge that even allies in the council would never reveal? He thought of the smiles, the laughter, the endless coffee, but also of the sharpness in their eyes when they worked, the way they never seemed afraid of risk, the way they acted as though the galaxy's limits were nothing but suggestions. Captain Valar could not decide if this generosity was true kindness or something more dangerous, but he knew one thing with certainty. Humanity was not what the galaxy believed it to be, and his crew was learning that truth with every upgrade, welded into their ship, the hidden power of humanity. By the fourth cycle, the alien cruiser had not only regained its former strength, but was beginning to look like a vessel designed for a future the crew had never imagined. Captain Valar walked the corridors and found himself pausing at every turn. The glow of new conduits lit the ship like veins filled with fresh life. Bulkheads gleamed with reinforced plating that bore the marks of human craftsmanship, and the hum of the engines carried a deeper tone, like the heartbeat of a creature, awakening with new power. The transformation was undeniable, yet it was not the visible changes that unsettled him most, but the quiet whispers from his own officers who had begun to notice things they could not explain. One evening Valar joined his chief weapons officer in the armory, where human engineers had been working without pause. He expected to see minor adjustments, perhaps reinforcement of storage racks or recalibration of targeting systems. But what he found made him still. The humans had reconfigured the power distribution for the cruiser's cannons, creating a cycle that allowed faster recharge times. They explained casually that their modification would let the weapons fire twice as often without overheating. The officers' mandibles clicked in disbelief, for such a system was forbidden under council regulation as too unstable. Yet the humans demonstrated it with a shrug, showing that not only did it work, but it worked with frightening reliability. They treated it as a small improvement, nothing more than a favor, while the aliens stood frozen at the realization that their ship now carried firepower beyond its classification. It was not only the cannons. The shield emitters had been tuned to respond dynamically, shifting strength where impacts were heaviest, a technique alien fleets had studied for centuries but never perfected. The humans had achieved it in days with tools scavenged from their dockyards. Valar asked Marcus, the human leader, how they knew such things. Marcus smiled, wiped grease from his hands, and said it was common sense. He spoke as though these solutions were obvious, as though the galaxy had been blind all along. The casual nature of his answer struck Valar harder than any boast could, for if this was common sense to humans, then what else lay hidden beneath their friendly exterior? During another inspection, Valar noticed a crate being delivered from Earth's surface. When opened, it revealed sleek components that looked nothing like the cruiser's technology. The humans explained that these were auxiliary drone systems, simple automated craft designed to repair external damage during battle. To the aliens, this was near sorcery, for such systems were reserved for the most advanced fleets of the core worlds. Yet the humans offered them freely, teaching the alien crew how to deploy them as though sharing a recipe rather than advanced military assets. The crew whispered among themselves, some excited, others afraid. Why would humans hand them such gifts unless they wanted something in return? At the next coffee break, the alien officers could not hold their questions any longer. One of them asked directly why the humans were arming them with such powerful upgrades. Marcus leaned back, sipped his drink, and explained that when a guest arrived injured, you did not just bandage their wounds, you made sure they left stronger than before. He said a ship should never wander vulnerable, because danger lurked everywhere, in the galaxy. His tone was calm, his smile genuine, yet behind his words Valar heard something deeper. It was not only kindness but philosophy. Humanity believed survival meant never returning to weakness. They believed in leaving scars as armor, in turning every loss into preparation for the next battle. To them, it was not unusual to strengthen a guest beyond their starting point. It was simply the way of things. Still, the captain could not shake the image of what this meant on a larger scale. If humans could take a single wounded cruiser and turn it into a warship of greater strength in less than a week, then what could they do with a fleet of their own? The thought weighed on him heavily as he returned to the bridge and watched his crew learning from their human counterparts. He saw alien officers scribbling notes as humans explained reactor balancing. He saw others smiling at jokes and laughing at wild stories of Earth's perilous seas and jungles, and he felt both pride and fear. Pride that his crew had adapted to this strange culture so quickly, fear that they might be swept into something far greater than they could control. When night cycles came, Valar sat alone in his quarters staring at the viewport where Earth shone below like a jewel of blue and green. He thought of the council records which had always dismissed humanity as reckless upstarts, too young to be taken seriously, too dangerous to be fully trusted. Yet here was proof that those records were blind. Humanity was not reckless. It was deliberate. Humanity was not weak. It was patient. And if these hidden capabilities were what they gave to strangers, then what lay behind the curtain of secrecy they kept for themselves? The question lingered in his mind like a shadow, and he realized that, with every upgrade his ship received, with every weapon enhanced, with every system reborn, he was staring not only at the generosity of humanity, but at the quiet warning hidden within their gifts. The gift of the gunship by the fifth cycle. The alien cruiser was no longer a battered relic of war, but a vessel reborn with strength and resilience that exceeded anything in the Council's archives. Systems that once failed under stress now ran with a smooth hum, weapons fired with precision, and shields glowed like a living shell around the hull. The alien crew moved through their own ship in disbelief, touching the panels as if afraid the improvements might vanish. Captain Valar should have been relieved, yet he found himself troubled. The generosity of the humans had gone far beyond repairs, and each passing day left him with the question no one dared voice aloud. Why? The answer came without warning when the humans summoned Valar and his senior officers to the dockyard. They guided them across a platform that opened onto a vast hangar, and there waiting in the glow of docking lights was a smaller vessel unlike any they had seen. Sleek lines traced its hull, dark plating shimmered with energy fields, and its twin engines burned faintly as if eager to launch. It was not merely a transport nor a civilian craft. This was a gunship, armed and armored, designed for combat. For a moment the aliens could not speak. The scale of the gift struck them like a thunderclap. No species gave away military assets freely, for to do so was to shift the balance of power. Yet the humans stood calmly beside it, smiles on their faces as if they had presented nothing more than a token of friendship. Marcus, the leader of the repair crew, stepped forward and gestured to the vessel. He explained in his easy voice that this was a guardian craft, something to protect the cruiser as it returned to its duties. He said it had been prepared quickly with parts drawn from their shipyards, but the design was reliable and could stand against raiders or pirates with ease. He spoke of it as if it were a practical solution to a problem, but the alien officers heard the weight behind his words. This was not a mere escort. This was power, delivered into their hands without negotiation, without demand, without price. The officers exchanged anxious glances. One whispered that such a gift could draw suspicion from the council. Another muttered that accepting it might bind them to humanity in ways they did not understand. Yet even as they debated, their eyes could not leave the gunship's hull. Its weapons gleamed with energy rails unfamiliar to them. Its shielding arrays pulsed with rhythms they had never studied. The potential of the craft was undeniable. For the first time, they imagined what it would mean to fly not only with their repaired cruiser but with this companion vessel by their side. They imagined the fear it would inspire in raiders, the respect it would command in contested sectors, the safety it would offer to their people. The temptation was overwhelming. At the next coffee gathering, the crew tried to question the humans, but the answers remained disarmingly simple. Marcus said that friends should not leave vulnerable, that trust was proven by giving without counting the cost. He said Earth had always believed in strengthening bonds with gifts, and that to send someone away weaker than when they arrived was dishonorable. The aliens listened in silence, unable to comprehend the casual way he spoke of something so monumental. Gifts among their kind were symbolic, small tokens of diplomacy. But this was no token. This was a warship. Captain Valar felt the tension within himself more than any of his officers. He knew the council would condemn such an exchange if they discovered it. He knew whispers of betrayal would follow him if he accepted it. And yet he also knew that refusing would wound the humans who had given so freely. They had poured themselves into the cruiser, reshaped it, strengthened it, and now stood before him with a final offering. He studied their faces, saw no hidden smirks, no sly calculations, only the strange warmth that always unsettled him. If there was a trap here, it was buried so deep he could not find it. Perhaps, he thought, the trap was not in the gift itself, but in the truth it revealed. Humanity did not think as the galaxy thought. Humanity did not fear giving away strength. Humanity believed that by arming others, they armed themselves with allies. When the alien crew finally stepped aboard the gunship, the silence was broken only by the hum of its engines. Panels lit at their touch, controls responded with intuitive precision, and the vessel seemed alive, eager to serve. Some of the crew felt pride, others fear, but all understood that they were holding something that should never have been theirs. Captain Valar stood at the cockpit window, staring out at Earth below, and whispered a thought he dared not share. If this was what humans gave freely, then what did they keep for themselves? The question settled in his heart like a weight he could not lift, and he knew that from this moment forward, the destiny of his people would forever be tied to the strange, unpredictable generosity of humanity, humanity's unexpected arsenal. The alien crew had grown accustomed to the humans' relentless energy and strange sense of priorities, yet nothing prepared them for what awaited them in the next hangar bay. As the massive doors parted with a slow hiss revealing a sight that made the seasoned officers stop in their tracks and even the captain's heart skip a beat before the hum of activity filled the air, and they stepped forward cautiously. There, bathed in the golden glow of overhead lights, stood a vessel unlike any in their fleet. It was sleek and compact, yet bristling with weaponry that the aliens did not recognize. Its engines pulsed with a quiet intensity that seemed alive, as if the ship itself anticipated the touch of its pilots. The humans stood beside it with casual smiles, as if presenting a cup of tea, rather than a machine capable of altering the balance of power in the sector, and the alien officers could not hide the disbelief in their eyes as they circled the gunship, tracing every line and panel, examining the weapon pods and energy arrays, noting the shield emitters that shimmered with faint colors, and the hull plating that seemed to adjust itself automatically to light and pressure. Marcus, the human who had coordinated the cruiser's repairs, stepped forward and began to explain the ship's capabilities. In the same easy tone he had used since the beginning of the mission, he described the gunship as a guardian vessel designed to accompany the cruiser through dangerous territories, to deter pirates and raiders, to provide immediate support if the cruiser was attacked. And his words flowed with such simplicity that the aliens almost missed the gravity behind them. The ship was not merely an escort. It was a weapon of war given freely, a gift that carried both opportunity and danger. In equal measure, the alien officers exchanged uneasy glances, questioning the wisdom of accepting it in their culture. No military vessel was ever given to another species without expectation of repayment or loyalty. Yet here was humanity offering power without strings attached. The alien Captain Valar felt a surge of conflicting emotions. The logical part of him calculated potential risks, the political implications of bringing such a vessel back to their command, the Council's reaction if they discovered what had been given, and the delicate balance of alliances in the sector. Yet another part of him marveled at the craftsmanship, the intuitive engineering that allowed the gunship to respond seamlessly to the alien's touch, as if it were designed to learn and adapt. It moved beneath them not as a machine but as an extension of their own intentions, and the thought that humanity could create something like this and hand it over freely unsettled him more than he would admit. As the crew explored the ship, they discovered that it was equipped with systems that complemented their cruiser perfectly. Weapon targeting arrays linked to the main sensor's propulsion, capable of maneuvering in ways that even their own pilots had never attempted, and shields that could absorb impacts, which would have shattered any other vessel of similar size. It was a revelation the humans had not only repaired what was broken, but they had enhanced their capabilities beyond what they had imagined, even in secret simulations. It was as if the humans anticipated every need and desire before it had been voiced. The aliens could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on them, and simultaneously, a spark of exhilaration igniting their spirits. The gift was both a boon and a challenge. It demanded respect and demanded skill. The humans offered more than words. They offered guidance, allowing the aliens to interface with the ship. They explained protocols, provided training in real time, and brewed coffee for the officers as they learned the systems, a simple gesture for humans, yet profoundly alien to the visitors who had not associated comfort or hospitality with acts of war. The combination of lethal capability and casual generosity created a tension that no alien logic could reconcile. It was impossible to separate the weapon from the kindness that accompanied it, and for the first time Valar realized that humanity fought differently than any species he had encountered. They did not hoard power. They shared it. They did not see strength as a means to dominate, but as a way to protect, to encourage, and to inspire trust. A concept that was completely foreign to his kind, yet one that left him questioning everything he had believed about alliances, loyalty, and the essence of power. By the time the aliens departed the hangar, they carried not only a ship, but a new understanding of humanity, a recognition that the gifts they had received were not just tools, but a message that the universe had never truly seen before. They carried with them the gunship, but also the realization that humans measured strength in generosity and courage, rather than control and fear, and that knowledge alone could shift the way their people approached the galaxy. In the days to come, the crew would test the limits of the vessel, push it to extremes, and uncover the full extent of what the humans had given. But even now, the gift of the gunship was a symbol of an unpredictable ally, a force that could not be ignored, and a reminder that sometimes the greatest power lay not in weapons but in the choice to give without expectation. Testing humanity's edge. The aliens were eager to see what the humans had truly given them, yet nothing could prepare them for the experience. As the cruiser and the gunship left the hangar and entered open space, the humans had insisted that the first test be in a controlled environment, a sector known for asteroid clusters and magnetic anomalies. Yet even this seemed deceptively calm compared to the precision and responsiveness of the gunship. The alien pilots climbed into the cockpit, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension as they activated the controls the moment their hands touched the panels. The ship responded instantly, adjusting thrusters and stabilizers in ways that felt intuitive, as if the vessel anticipated every motion before it was made. The sensors displayed data at a speed and clarity that overwhelmed the crew, yet allowed them to make decisions with precision that their own ships had never allowed, and the aliens realized immediately that this was not merely a ship. It was a tool that expanded their abilities and challenged their understanding of navigation and combat at the same time. Marcus remained aboard the cruiser, observing the crew as they took the gunship through intricate maneuvers, weaving between asteroids, slaloming through magnetic distortions, and dodging simulated attacks. The humans guided them with calm confidence, offering advice not as orders, but as suggestions, letting the aliens learn by doing, allowing them to feel both the exhilaration of mastery and the humility of dependence on technology that was both alien and familiar. The gunship systems adjusted automatically, learning each pilot's tendencies in real time, shifting energy to shields, weapons, or engines as needed, compensating for mistakes and amplifying skill without ever losing responsiveness. And the alien pilots could not help but feel a thrill unlike any they had experienced in their own training programs. As the test intensified, the humans introduced live fire simulations, small drones that darted aggressively toward the cruiser, forcing the gunship to engage while simultaneously coordinating with their allies. The aliens were astounded by how seamlessly the systems integrated, targeting with movement. The weapon pods adjusted in synchronization with the ship's motion, eliminating blind spots and enabling precision strikes that seemed impossible by their own standards. And when the first drone was neutralized with a single well-placed shot, the alien crew exchanged glances that mixed disbelief with admiration. They had been trained to measure skill by discipline and repetition. Yet here, skill was amplified by the ship's intelligence, creating results that surpassed even the most experienced pilots, and they began to understand that humanity's gift was more than hardware. It was an extension of strategy, instinct, and foresight. Hours passed like minutes as the aliens continued to push the vessel to its limits, diving through asteroid belts, evading simulated ambushes, and testing energy outputs beyond recommended levels. Yet the gunship held steady, reacting with an elegance and resilience that defied their expectations. The humans observed silently, occasionally offering insights that seemed simple but held profound implications about thinking. Beyond conventional tactics, the aliens began to see patterns in the humans' approach, a combination of creativity, adaptability, and anticipation that no algorithm could fully replicate. And slowly they realized that this was the true gift. The gunship was merely a vessel. But the way it was designed, the way it encouraged pilots to think differently, that was humanity's hidden weapon. By the time the test concluded, the alien crew was exhilarated and exhausted in equal measure. They had survived maneuvers that would have crippled their own ships, neutralized threats that had seemed impossible to counter, and discovered capabilities that challenged their entire concept of space combat. The cruiser's Captain Valar approached Marcus with a mixture of respect and awe, acknowledging that humanity had not simply repaired a vessel, but had fundamentally changed their understanding of what it meant to fight, to defend, and to collaborate. The humans had given them tools, knowledge, and confidence all in a single package, and the realization sank in that the galaxy had underestimated humans yet again, and that their generosity was as potent as their strength and cunning. As the ships returned to the hangar, the alien officers reflected silently on what they had experienced. The gunship was no longer just a machine. It was a statement, a representation of humanity's philosophy that strength could be shared, power could be leveraged through cooperation, and that even in warfare there was room for ingenuity and surprise. And they knew that when the time came to face real threats, they would rely on more than weapons and tactics. They would rely on the lessons embedded in the ship, the foresight of humans, and the understanding that the galaxy was about to witness a force that could not be predicted, contained, or ignored. Humanity's final lesson. The aliens could not shake the feeling that what they had seen so far was only the beginning, and as they returned to their stations aboard the cruiser, the humans gathered calmly around Marcus, who smiled, knowing that the final phase would leave the aliens with more questions than answers. And that was exactly the point. The humans had not come to simply demonstrate power or technology, but to teach a mindset, to instill adaptability, ingenuity, and respect for the unpredictable nature of life and space. And when the aliens asked what the next test would be, Marcus merely said that they would see soon enough. The humans led them to a remote sector near a nebula known for its unstable energy. Fields and rogue asteroids. The cruiser's sensors detected anomalies that even their advanced systems struggled to map completely, and the aliens felt unease creeping in because no simulation, no previous test could have prepared them for the environment ahead. Yet the humans moved with calm assurance, explaining only enough to give the aliens a framework. Without dictating every step, the gunship was outfitted with new modifications, upgrades that the aliens had barely explored. And as they took off into the swirling chaos of the nebula, they immediately realized that what they had learned in the previous tests would be tested in ways they could not predict. Energy surges from the nebula caused instruments to flicker, and gravity fluctuations forced the ships to constantly adjust thrusters and shields. Yet the gunship seemed almost alive, responding to every subtle movement with grace and precision. The aliens tried to anticipate its reactions, but the ship often performed maneuvers they had not even considered. And as rogue asteroids shot past at impossible speeds, the gunship weaved through them, as if it knew where the next obstacle would appear. The alien pilots began to understand that their own reflexes were no longer the limiting factor. The ship augmented their perception, enhanced their decisions, and taught them to trust instincts in ways they had never experienced before. Suddenly, the nebula erupted in a cascade of electromagnetic storms. The cruiser's systems flickered and communications became unstable, yet Marcus instructed the aliens to rely on their training and the capabilities humans had integrated into the gunship. The vessel surged forward, shields glowing, engines roaring as it carved a path through the chaos, and the aliens felt an exhilaration that bordered on fear, as every second brought new dangers. Yet every maneuver reinforced that they were no longer merely relying on technology. They were thinking with it and alongside it, and when they encountered a cluster of rogue drones designed to ambush them, the gunship reacted instantly, neutralizing every threat while keeping the cruiser safe, and the aliens could only watch in awe, realizing that this was not luck, not skill alone, but a combination of human creativity, foresight, and engineering that could not be replicated by any other species in the galaxy. Hours passed in a blur of danger, calculation, and exhilaration. Yet the aliens emerged from the nebula unscathed. Their understanding of what it meant to fight, to defend, and to survive had been fundamentally altered. The humans had not merely upgraded a vessel. They had upgraded a species' perception of possibility and power. The cruiser's captain Valar looked at Marcus and the humans with a mixture of gratitude, awe, and something that bordered on fear, because they understood now that the galaxy had underestimated humans once again, and that their generosity, intelligence, and foresight made them unpredictable allies or adversaries. As they returned to the hangar, the aliens reflected silently on everything they had experienced: the gunship, the upgrades, the training, and the philosophy of humans left a lasting impression that could not be erased. And Marcus finally spoke, reminding them that the universe was not conquered by strength alone, but by adaptability, ingenuity, and the willingness to see beyond the expected. And in that moment, the aliens realized that humans had given them far more than coffee, upgrades, or a gunship. They had given them knowledge, perspective, and a lesson that would echo in their decisions for years to come. And as they looked at the humans, they knew one thing with absolute certainty: the galaxy had not seen the full measure of humanity yet, and that the stories of their ingenuity, strength, and unexpected kindness would become legend. The ultimate test. The aliens had faced many surprises since arriving on the human station, but nothing could prepare them for what Marcus and his team had planned next. The humans guided the cruisers to a remote sector filled with unstable asteroid fields and unpredictable energy storms. The moment the cruisers entered the area, alarms began to blare. The aliens tried to coordinate maneuvers using their advanced systems, but the environment kept changing faster than any protocol could adapt, and yet the humans moved with confidence, showing no fear, only purpose, as they explained that the mission was not simply about survival, but about learning to think differently, to anticipate unpredictability, and to adapt instantly. The aliens watched as human pilots controlled gunships with precision that seemed impossible, weaving through debris and harnessing the chaotic energy around them to their advantage. Every obstacle in the asteroid field became a lesson, every storm surge a challenge to overcome. The humans had upgraded the gunships beyond the aliens' comprehension, adding systems that integrated instinct with intelligence. The ships seemed to anticipate danger before it arrived, and the aliens realized that the humans were not merely relying on technology, but were connected to it, thinking as one entity. And when a rogue swarm of automated drones launched from hidden positions, the humans handled them effortlessly using tactics the aliens could not have conceived without warning. The drones exploded around them in controlled bursts, while the humans guided the cruisers safely through the chaos. The aliens tried to mimic human strategies, but failed at every attempt. Their calculations and reflexes could not match the improvisation the humans demonstrated. Every maneuver taught them something new. The ship systems adapted in real time, teaching them lessons about timing, coordination, and risk assessment that no manual could convey. And as they passed through a particularly dense cluster of asteroids, the aliens felt the sheer force of the environment pressing on them, yet the humans remained calm and focused. Marcus explained that the universe rewarded those who embraced uncertainty, and that survival depended on creativity as much as firepower. Hours passed, and the aliens were exhausted yet exhilarated. Their understanding of tactics, strategy, and improvisation had grown exponentially. The gunship systems had forced them to expand their thinking beyond rigid protocols, to embrace adaptability and quick decision-making. And when the final challenge came in the form of an unpredictable gravitational anomaly, the humans demonstrated mastery once again, guiding all ships safely while simultaneously providing the aliens with guidance that allowed them to participate actively without ever fully losing control. The lesson was clear that true power came from integration, innovation, and courage in the face of the unknown. When the cruisers finally emerged from the sector, the aliens looked at the humans with awe and respect. They had received far more than technical upgrades or weapons. They had received knowledge and experience that no database could teach. They understood now why humans were feared and respected across the galaxy for their ingenuity and unpredictability. And Marcus smiled, knowing that the final part of the lesson had been delivered, not through domination but through shared experience, trust, and pushing limits beyond imagination. The aliens debriefed and reflected on everything they had learned: upgrades, maneuvers, improvisation, teamwork, and human philosophy about adaptation and resilience, all combined to leave a lasting impression that would influence their civilization for generations. The humans had not only helped them survive, they had elevated their perception, changed their approach, and demonstrated why no species could ever underestimate humanity. And as the humans prepared to leave the sector, the aliens realized with certainty that the galaxy would always remember the humans, not just for their strength or technology, but for the lessons they imparted, for the courage they inspired, and the unpredictability they embodied. The humans stood at the edge of the alien station, observing the reactions of those they had guided and upgraded. The alien crews had learned so much, but what struck the humans most was the way they looked at them now with awe and something resembling hope. For centuries, the aliens had relied on technology, calculations, and rigid strategies, believing that logic alone could define power. Yet they had never truly understood unpredictability or the courage to face the unknown without fear. And the humans had shown them that strength was not in controlling everything, but in adapting, in creating, and in taking risks that others could not imagine. Marcus watched as the alien commanders shared data, exchanged ideas, and experimented with maneuvers that would have seemed reckless before, yet now carried the precision and confidence instilled by human guidance. The humans had not only repaired what was broken in the alien systems, but had transformed their understanding of the universe. They had offered coffee, upgrades, and even gunship escorts. But what mattered most was the intangible lesson of ingenuity and resilience. And as the aliens tried to comprehend the vastness of what had been shared, the humans prepared their ships to depart, leaving behind a legacy that no manual, no blueprint, and no technology alone could replicate. They had demonstrated the essence of humanity and its unexpected brilliance in every action, every maneuver, and every decision that relied on intuition as much as skill. The alien crews realized that they had been given more than tools and weapons. They had been given perspective, courage, and experience that could change the course of their civilization forever. The humans had not demanded allegiance, nor had they enforced obedience. They had taught through example, through shared challenge, and through the audacity to embrace chaos with confidence. And as the last of the gunships departed the alien station, a silence settled over the bridge, not of emptiness but of recognition of a force that could never be predicted or controlled, and that the humans were a species defined not by dominance alone but by inspiration, creativity, and the courage to confront anything the universe could throw at them. In the vast expanse of space, the humans moved onward to new missions, knowing that every encounter, every station, every species they touched would carry the memory of their ingenuity and unpredictability across the stars. The aliens had asked for repairs, but humanity had given them something far greater: the gift of vision, the courage to adapt, and the knowledge that true power came from intelligence combined with audacity. And as the stars stretched before them, the humans laughed, sipped their coffee, and prepared for the next impossible challenge, knowing the galaxy would never see them coming, and that every corner of the cosmos would someday learn why humans were always more than anyone expected. The end.